Snoop Dogg's freedom, in many ways, relied on having backing from others. Without protection, he could have ended up in jail or facing parole proceedings. Now, the misstep in the situation revolves around Keefe D. Davis not securing payment up front. Everyone in the industry knows that Sean Diddy Combs doesn't always follow through financially. Instead, they relied on a handshake agreement worth $1 million. Predictably, no one was confident Diddy would honor it. Rumors have surfaced from someone claiming to be a former cellmate, suggesting that Diddy may have cut a deal with federal authorities. Allegedly, he agreed to testify about Tupac, asserting that Snoop Dogg had betrayed Tupac to Keefe D. in exchange for cash and drugs. According to these whispers, Diddy could potentially be released from detention and put on house arrest far sooner than expected. At present, his release hinges on a judge deciding whether to side with the prosecution or the defense. Arguments for Sean Combs' release were made recently, but nothing has been finalized. Meanwhile, the real legal spotlight is on Keefe D. Davis, the only individual formally charged in Tupac Shakur's 1996 murder. He was arrested in September 2023, and after several delays, his trial is now scheduled to begin on August 10, 2026. This is a major case moving forward, and the evolving timelines are generating widespread attention and speculation. A new report reveals that Keefe D. Davis's lawyer believes Diddy potentially supporting his latest account could be a major advantage for the defense. Essentially, if Diddy were to take the stand and push back against past claims, it could significantly strengthen Keefe D's legal strategy. Now, let's be clear, this doesn't mean Diddy has agreed to testify, nor does it confirm any deal. It's simply being discussed. But even the mere possibility is sending shockwaves through the hip-hop world. As many know, Keefe D. has previously claimed, in interviews in his memoir, that Diddy allegedly placed bets on Tupac during the infamous Bad Boy vs. Death Row feud. Diddy has consistently denied any involvement and has never been formally charged in connection with Tupac's murder. Keefe D's defense now argues that those past statements were exaggerated, potentially motivated by fame and financial gain. And when old words threaten a case, the standard move is to discredit them, sometimes by bringing in the very people you once accused, having them deny everything under oath. That's the calculated legal strategy everyone is watching unfold. Meanwhile, court filings reportedly mention Diddy repeatedly, with social media users claiming his name appears dozens of times. Mention in filings isn't the same as being charged, but when a name keeps coming up in a case that has haunted hip-hop for nearly 30 years, the speculation naturally grows louder. Adding more context, history has resurfaced. Back in 1995, after Tupac was shot at Quad Studios in New York, he told Vibe magazine that he believed Diddy had a hand in setting him up. Whether that's true remains unknown. Only those involved can answer that. I have my own opinion, but I wouldn't publicly slander anyone like some have. I wouldn't reveal things I know. But yes, I do believe it. I have proof, things I could say to back it up, though this isn't for the world to know. It's between me and him, and only he knows. That's why every time something resurfaces, it becomes an issue for everyone else. I had already bowed out. I was going to live my life. Suge Knight even claimed that after Tupac was shot in Vegas, he confronted Diddy, saying, "You've got some explaining to do." According to Suge, Diddy didn't stand his ground. He ran. When asked what words he used before Diddy ran, Suge said, "You've got to explain yourself, convince me you weren't involved in what they're accusing you of." Diddy denied the allegations then, and he denies them now. Even Mop Shakur, Tupac's brother, recalled that Diddy once personally called him to deny involvement. "He called me man to man, saying he had nothing to do with my brother's death," Mop explained. The tension between these camps didn't start overnight. It runs deep, steeped in history and real feelings. Things get messy when you consider Diddy's former bodyguard, Gene Deal, who has long claimed that Death Row Records itself played a role in both Tupac and Biggie's deaths, not just outside rivals. "That was all in-house, all West Coast," he said. Even Keefe D's own past interviews add fuel to the fire. In clips featured in the Netflix docuseries Sean Combs, The Reckoning, he openly discusses being in the car the night Tupac was shot and points to other people he claims were involved. "Do you know who was responsible for Tupac Shakur's killing? No, I don't. But in my mature assessment, I think Sean had a significant role in Tupac's death," one source revealed. Prosecutors are expected to use past admissions like these as evidence, while the defense argues that such statements were false or exaggerated. Meanwhile, Tupac's family isn't staying silent. Reports indicate they've hired attorneys and private investigators to examine claims about money allegedly offered for Tupac's murder. Their goal is to determine if anyone besides Keefe D had a hand in the tragedy. If new evidence surfaces linking someone else, it could completely change the case. If not, the focus remains on Keefe. Social media, as always, is blurring the lines between fact and rumor. Snoop Dogg's name is trending again. Old Reddit threads about alleged tension between Tupac and Snoop before Pac died are resurfacing. Fans are replaying interviews, dissecting who was and wasn't in Las Vegas that night. So, what was the energy like leading up to Tupac's death? Where were people when the call came in? Sources recall that they reached out to Snoop immediately. Suge Knight also reignited old wounds, claiming that jealousy from Snoop Dogg and Dr. Dre over Tupac's rising shine was already fracturing death row from the inside. Once Tupac became bigger than everyone else on the label, envy set in, and according to some, that is when plans started forming. Darkly, reports suggest that just days before Tupac was killed, he ended his friendship with Snoop because Snoop was spending time with Biggie again. That kind of split, so close to the tragedy, is a detail people don't forget. But one critical point must be made clear. Snoop Dogg has never been charged, and no official court documents name him as a suspect in Tupac's murder. What's happening now is a reopening of the courtroom timeline, and with it, old memories. People are looking back at 1996 through 2026 eyes, and suddenly, everything feels a little off. But suspicion is not proof. As it stands, Keefe D is the only person facing charges. Diddy's name keeps surfacing, not because he's been charged, but because of things Keefe said in the past and the possibility that the defense may want him to walk those statements back. That's it. That's all it really is. Yet even so, the heat on Diddy isn't going away. He's already juggling multiple civil lawsuits and federal investigations unrelated to Tupac's case. His legal situation is complicated. So if he were to testify, it would be a serious move. Taking the stand means speaking under oath. Under oath, every word carries weight. The real question isn't whether he did it, it's strategy. Does Diddy step into a courtroom storm to finally shut down decades of claims, or does he stay silent to avoid reopening old wounds? Either choice sends a message, and that's why this moment feels monumental. For nearly 30 years, Tupac has lived through documentaries, books, interviews, and conspiracies. Now, it's a real trial with a real defendant and real consequences. The legend is colliding with the law. Every old interview, every feud, every headline is dragged back into the light. But in the end, the only thing that matters is what can be proven in court. As dramatic as this feels, and trust me, it does feel dramatic, the truth will come from sworn testimony and legal evidence, not trending hashtags. Now the question for the public: if Diddy is called to testify, should he speak and clear the air? Or would stepping into that courtroom simply reopen wounds from a war that never truly healed? This case is moving forward. The date is set. Once the trial begins, the story won't belong to bloggers, fans, or conspiracy theorists anymore. It will belong to the court, and that's when we'll finally see which version of history survives.